Hello, I am Professor Kino, and welcome to my Office of Cinematic Antiquity. Today we will be talking about Dario Argento's original 1977 Suspiria is lauded as a wondrously stylish gore fest that is slightly convoluted when it comes to the plot. I saw it myself a couple of years back, and that was my takeaway as well. I remember the memorable set pieces, the cinematography, and the top-notch kills, but story-wise, I only remember bits and pieces. So, quick review of that film: I liked it, didn't love it. However, when I heard that a remake was in the works by the talented Luca Guadagnino, my ears did perk up for a couple of reasons. First was the cast, with the likes of Tilda Swinton, Chloe Grace Moretz, Dakota Johnson, and Mia Goth, who wouldn't be intrigued. And second, I was curious to know how the film could be adapted into the modern day. Would it be able to clean up the convoluted plot a bit and, at the very least, match the original's beautiful style? So, when I saw that it was playing in a theater near me, I decided to dive in and see what I thought. Premise: American dancer Susie Bannion travels to Berlin in the 1970s to join the all-female Helena Marcos dance company. However, unbeknownst to Susie and her fellow troupe members, their directors are all part of a coven of witches that are grooming them for something sinister. Writing: when Luca Guadagnino took the helm of this film, he was adamant about making his take on the story less of a remake of the 1977 original and more of a cover. Still the same story, but with a different artistic feel. And while this does sound like a difficult thing to accomplish, I believe that Guadagnino and screenwriter David Kaganich achieved what they set out to do. While the general story is the same as the original, the moment-to-moment events and surprisingly some pivotal plot points are handled and concluded very differently. Yet despite this, the general feel and core of the story is the same. So as a remake, it is very unique. Think of it kinda like the Coen brothers' remake of True Grit back in 2010. Still the same story, but different. But does this reimagining of the story help to clear it up and make it more comprehensible? My answer to that is, While it does clear some things up, such as making it clear from the get-go that the troupe directors are witches, the story tries to do a lot without much explanation. There is a lot of showing and not telling, which for many films is stupendous, but I think there was just a little too much of it here. And this is in part due to the fact that there are three interconnected stories that play out simultaneously across the film's runtime. Susie and the Dancers' story, Madame Blanc and the Witch's story, and psychiatrist Dr. Josef Klemperer's story involving him trying to uncover the secret of the Helena Marcos dance company. And while there are plenty of scenes that easily interweave these stories, there are also plenty of scenes that feel like out-of-place tangents that pad out the film, slow it down, and make it a little hard to digest as a whole, particularly because the excessive amount of visual storytelling makes us have to continuously switch mental gears each time the film pivots to one of its three stories, and it can get a little exhausting. Well, all the plot threads eventually come to impact the story in the end, and I feel like there was a solid, albeit not wholly satisfying, payoff for those who stick out the film's lengthy 152 minutes. I'm not sure how many people will be able to accomplish this, because from moment to moment, the film can sometimes come across as confusing, disjointed, and aimless. Despite this, however, the story continuously does a good job at invoking a feeling of dread while simultaneously infusing itself with themes of motherhood, loyalty, and aging. And the film is able to maintain these themes throughout its entirety, despite getting lost within its own ramblings from time to time. But convolution aside, I have been thinking about every aspect of this story for weeks now, and I keep uncovering new things that make me appreciate it a little bit more each time. While I don't think that any amount of reflection on my part will completely absolve this film of its issues, I have to admit that the work on display is admirable, given everything that Guadagnino and Kaganich were trying to accomplish. So, in the end, the writing of this film took the ideas and premise of Dario Argento's 1977 original and gave it a Luca Guadagnino flair that, while sometimes falling short of the original and sometimes surpassing it, feels like a worthy remake that even Argento himself should be impressed by. Acting. Each actor brings their A-game, and everyone is excellent. Dakota Johnson brings a curiosity and innocence and, oddly enough, a strength to her role as Susie Bannion. Mia Goth is effectively charming, welcoming, and innocent as Sarah. Chloe Grace Moretz is very good as the paranoid Patricia, who has been disillusioned from the Witch Coven's cover as dance instructors. And most impressively, Tilda Swinton is stupendous as Madame Blanc and Dr. Josef Klemperer. As for the former, Swinton is intriguing, creepy, powerful, and in many ways captivating. And as for Swinton's performance as Josef, that is a whole other story. Swinton and Guadagnino created an entire fictional person, Lutz Ebersdorf, and Swinton is said to be playing Ebersdorf playing Josef. As confusing and convoluted as that sounds, the final product is a fascinating one, and Swinton is both marvelous and unrecognizable in the role. She is fully believable as this man and is able to make Yosef sympathetic, intelligent, sad, and likable. It is something else. And finally, I wanted to mention that Jessica Harper, Susie Bannion in the original film, has a small role here as a nice nod to the original. Costumes, hair, and makeup. Very good, from the unique look of the dancers' costumes and makeup to the creepy look of some of the witches to the flooring prosthetics on Tilda Swinton that transform her into Yosef, I didn't even realize it was her, to some horrific work on the kills, specifically one involving contortion that is terrifyingly gruesome. It all looks amazing and in some aspects surpasses the original. Set design. While not as memorable as the original sets, such as the studio's unique wallpaper and glass ceiling that have both been given homage to in other horror media, most recently in Netflix's The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, and certainly a lot more drab color-wise, they are still solid. From the mirror-covered rehearsal room to the creepy witch lair, i.e. its horrifying ritual chamber and threatening yet intriguing room of trinkets, this movie's sets are stylish and well done. Choreography. The choreography for this film is excellent, which is important because this film takes place in the studio of a renowned dance troupe. While throughout the film there are plenty of scenes where the dancers are practicing that looks good, it all comes together with a phenomenal dance number that is attractive, suspenseful, creepy, stylish, and great to watch. Cinematography. While I wouldn't say that the cinematography is as great as it is in Argento's original, it is still pretty damn good. From the shots of the dancing to the horrific camera work during the kills to the gorgeous establishing shots and transitions to the astounding camera work and composition during the finale, this film is quite the looker. However, I do have some caveats. Particularly, there are moments when the film zooms in at odd times and not always to great effect. Additionally, there is a weird amount of out-of-focus slow motion, and to be honest, it kinda tainted the otherwise excellent cinematography a little bit. Editing. Very solid. There are a lot of longer takes here, and while a lot of it is not necessarily mind-blowing, there are a few excellent times when the editing is utilized to actually help build tension and terror. For example, one of the deaths in the film happens in conjunction with, as a matter of fact it happens because of, a dance, and the edits between the dance and the death are gruesome, horrific, uncomfortable, and excellently done. CGI. While there is some CGI here and not all of it looks perfect, it doesn't distract from everything else on screen, and to be honest, I don't really remember the CGI all that much as being good or bad, so it's fine. Music. The soundtrack by Thom Yorke is very unique. It combines nail-biting tension, dreamlike awe, and mesmerizing beauty in a fascinating way. It's stylish, fitting, engaging, and best of all, is something that I can easily listen to independently of the film. Direction. If you asked me a few years ago what I thought about someone remaking Suspiria, I would have been hesitant. With such a horror staple like Dario Argento's original, it's difficult to think about a remake being anything more than a cash grab. But now that I've seen the remake, I can safely say that Luca Guadagnino was the perfect choice for this assignment. While I do think that some of the issues that plagued the original are still present here and some new issues are made, there is also plenty that is improved upon. While I don't think that it accomplished all that it could have, Luca Guadagnino definitely put his stamp on this story, and the final product is the perfect example of how to do a remake properly. My enjoyment. I'm not sure where I fall on this one. There's a lot here that I liked, but also a lot that I was mixed on. While I think that the film is very stylish and is most of the time a beauty to look at with regard to its cinematography, costume, sets, editing, and choreography, I do think that the story gets lost in itself. While the beginning, middle, and end are all here, the progression between them is not the smoothest, and it feels like the film got caught up a few too many times doing other things, and the final payoff left me asking more questions to feel fully satisfying. While I wouldn't say that I necessarily enjoyed it in the common sense of the word, I did like experiencing it, and while it's not going to grace my top films of the year list, I can see myself going back to it in the future to try and dissect and understand it further. Recommendations. Alright, so it's a little hard to figure out who to recommend Suspiria to. This is not because of its quality, but because of what it is, a slightly confusing, stylish, slow-burning art house horror film. So I guess, first and foremost, if that description sounds interesting, then give it a shot. Also, if you have liked films such as The Witch and It Comes at Night, etc., then I think this film would be right up your alley. Additionally, if you like the original Suspiria, then you might get a kick out of this one. Unlike remakes of other films that just retread the ground of the original, Guadagnino's remake of Dario Argento's film feels like a fresh take on it. So, in general, this film is for anyone looking for a slow-burning, unique, auteur art house horror film. For everyone else, it will probably be too slow, too convoluted, and too gruesome. And while I'm certain that this uniquely made remake will have a devoted audience, I think it will struggle to move beyond cult status. Thanks for watching, I hope you liked it. If you did, leave a like. If you want to see more, please subscribe. I'm Professor Kino, and I look forward to our next discussion.